Shields up, Ironbreakers. We're kind of here coming at you with another video. Welcome back to Monster Hunter World Iceborne and Happy New Year. This is the first video that I'm recording in 2020. Maybe some of you guys were expecting like a channel update, some kind of New Year's resolution type deal. But there really isn't a whole lot to report on that front because I just try to better myself throughout the entirety of the year, not just January. So I don't really have anything that I want to change. I'm going to try to keep doing the content that you guys seem to enjoy, and hopefully you guys will continue watching. Let's get into this. So, Charge Blade builds. I got 4 of them for you today, starting with a raw damage build. Now, the purpose of this build is to squeeze as much damage out of the Charge Blade as possible while still maintaining a decent level of comfort. Because you guys know I like my comfy builds, you know, whatever, guilty as charged. I'm not a speedrunner. I really don't care how fast the monster goes down, so long as it's going down in a reasonable time frame. But what I'm saying with trying to squeeze damage out of Charge Blade here is I'm not going to over-focus on file damage. I'm going to be focusing just on the damage of the Charge Blade itself. And then we're going to have another build that's also going to be focusing on file damage and, naturally, some quality of life to go along with it. Now, in a lot of these builds, you're going to be seeing Safi's Shatter Shield just because I happen to like the blast element more than any other element. You can go check any of my other videos. I usually favor blast quite a bit because I just enjoy seeing explosions. That's the reason why Gunlance is my main weapon to begin with. So this is the weapon that is going to be featured, but you can replace this with whatever you want so long as you have impact files on your Charge Blade. There will also be an elemental build for you guys out there that like the elemental playstyle. I'll be showing that one after I give you guys a couple of the raw builds that I've been working on. So, Safi's Shatter Shield. You guys can see the stats there. I'm not going to read the stats to you because it's always going to change whenever it comes to Safi's Shatter Shield depending on the awakened ability. So the important thing to look at is naturally the awakened abilities themselves. So we have 2 levels of sharpness. One of them is going to be a sharpness 6. Some of you guys are going to say that's overkill, or you can use handicraft, or you can do this and that and the other. But any variation that you do on this is going to have an impact on the decoration side of things. That is why those are the very specific abilities that I looked for this specific weapon. You can change a couple of things around, the build will still work, but the purpose of having 2 sharpnesses in there, for instance, which some people might say it's overkill, is to actually get a decent chunk of purple with Teostra's technique, because that is going to let you maintain that purple for a significant amount of time. As a matter of fact, I was even testing making like a 100% crit Charge Blade build. The problem becomes whenever you block with the Charge Blade, you still lose sharpness. So yeah, even if you do 100% crit build, you're still going to lose bits of sharpness here and there. So I just ended up scrapping that idea and I just went with this one instead. Then we have naturally 2 attack up 5s because they're good, and a Teostra's technique to allow us to only use 2 Teostra pieces while still getting Master's Touch. When it comes to augmentations on this weapon, you are looking at health regen, affinity increase, and element status effect up. I really wouldn't change anything, but, you know, if you want, you can change some of these augmentations around. This is not a 100% crit build unless you are hitting a tenderized weak spot in a monster. So it's completely up to you if you want to change some stuff around. There is a little bit of wiggle room. So let's get to the build itself. On the weapon, we're going to be putting an Artillery Deco +4. Then we're going to be using Golden Headrest Beta because it's got, you know, good stats. Charge of Vitality Jewel in there, Expert. Damascus Mail Beta, Iron Wall Expert, Shield Jewel, Artillery 1. Kaiser Van Bracers Beta with Critical Vitality and a Brace Jewel. Now, the Brace Jewel is optional if you are playing solo, but as you guys know, I like to play with friends often, and I don't want to, like, tell my friends, hey, don't play Longsword or don't play Dual Blades, particularly because you guys know I play with Kegrin a lot, and he loves those 2 goddamn weapons. As a matter of fact, he loves anything that's a fast weapon, so basically if I don't take a Brace Jewel whenever I'm hunting with him, it becomes a serious problem. So that's why the Brace Jewel is in there. Then we got the Kaiser Coil Beta, which is actually really good if you're using the Blast weapon, because, you know, sometimes you use the Kaiser Coil Beta and some of the stats go to waste because, you know, you don't use Blast attack. But in this case, your weapon also has Blast, so it synergizes really well. Got the Magazine Jewel Expert, Expert +4, Guru Greaves Beta, Critical Jewel 2, and another Critical Jewel 2. We wrapped everything up with the Challenger Charm 4 to get a little bit more attack whenever the monster is enraged, and monsters are enraged pretty much all the time. Master rank because you slam them into walls repeatedly, or at least you should. Then we got the Glider Mantle, and the Glider Mantle is kind of like a fulcral point of most of my builds nowadays because it's just a really good mantle overall. I've completely scrapped Rocksteady, mostly because it gets me killed way too often in Master Rank, even with Divine Blessing 5. So I'm just like, okay, Rocksteady is a bit of a liability. There are monsters where it's useful, particularly Kushala and whatnot, but, you know, for overall, this is where we're going with, and the decos that you put in there are actually important because I try to maintain Glider Mantle up as often as possible. So we got an Iron Wall Jewel +4 in there, as well as a Blast Jewel. And then we have Temporal. Temporal is mostly there for your opening salvo, so that you can guarantee that you can get like a wall slam and stuff like that. Or you can weaken the part that you want. It's also something that I kind of always have to use with my gun lances in order to secure the wall slam as well as secure the first ammo from the monster to get quality of life. So I use Temporal Mantle basically on everything. Now, let's take a look at the final build here. You're looking at Critical Eye 7, Agitator 5, Health Boost 3, Critical Boost 3, Weakness Exploit 3, Focus 3, Artillery 3, Blast Attack 2, but it's 4 if you put your Glider Mantle in there. That's a lot of blast damage. You got Heat Guard 1, Capacity Boost, Guard Level 1 whenever you are without your mantle. And you guys are like, well, why do you care about Guard Level 1? Trust me, if you guard point often, 1 point in guard is just so good. 3 points in guard is even better, which is why we have those in the mantle, but just 1 point in guard. I don't know if it's just me, dude, but throughout all the time that I've spent playing Charge Blade, I'm just like, dude, I almost can't live without that 1 point in guard, because otherwise you get staggered back way more often whenever you do guard points. So, yeah, I really like that 1 point in guard. You got your flinch free, you got your guard up. Pretty much all of my sets go with guard up nowadays whenever they have a shield, because there's a lot of unblockable attacks in Master Rank, and I just don't want to have to deal with that. So I just like, boom, there it goes. Everything gets a shield up. I don't even have to worry anymore. You got 2/2 Specialist whenever you got the Temporal Mantle, so that it regens your Glider Mantle faster. That's kind of the point of that. And naturally, you got Master's Touch from Teostra's Technique. Now, I really like this build. You get a lot of uptime on Purple Sharpness, depending on the way that you're playing naturally, but usually in most monsters you will be able to get a lot of good uptime on Purple Sharpness, and it's just a very satisfying playstyle. This might be the Charge Blade build that I enjoy the most right now. There is a variant to this build, in case you guys want to check that out, and the variant is basically for Guiding Lands. I made a Guiding Lands variant for all of my builds, to kind of like, you know, whenever I just want to take a build to the Guiding Lands, and this is what that looks like. I'm not going to go in detail as to what it's about, but basically it gives you the geology as well as the fortitude at the cost of some of the other stats that you had in the previous build. Okay, so the next build I call the Hybrid build, and the purpose of this build is to try to get Master's Touch coupled together with Artillery level 5 to increase the damage of your files. This is actually not a build that I play all that often, to be completely honest, because I like the versatility of being able to file discharge and also deal a lot of damage with Savage Axe Slash, so I end up defaulting more to the raw build. But if you really want to increase the damage on the files while sacrificing a little bit of damage on Savage Axe maybe, this could be a build that you would consider. So it uses the same weapon, so the Safi's Shatter Shield with the same awakened abilities. It's exactly the same thing, but it's going to be going for a slightly different build, naturally, because we're going to have to accommodate a different set of skills. So let's take a look at it. On the Shatter Shield itself, we got Charge of Vitality, then we got a Zora Headgear Alpha, as well as a Zora Hide Alpha, because the friggin' budget on these items is actually pretty good in my opinion, with the Artillery level 2s in there as well as the slots. And we're going to be putting Magazine, Shield, Tenderizer, and Artillery. Then you got your Kaiser Van Braces, because you also want to get, Master's Touch. You got an Iron Wall Expert Jewel in there. Like I said, I like having at least that one guard point. That one guard for the guard point. The Tenderizer Jewel. You got Kaiser Coil Beta, Charge of Vitality, Critical, and Vitality. Zora Spurs Beta with Expert +4 and a Charger Jewel. You wrap everything up with a Master's Charm. This might be able to be better optimized if you have 2 of the Expert +4s, but I don't, so I just use the Master's Charm on a lot of these sets. There you got the Glider Mantle. Now, and here you see Critical Protection and Critical Maintenance. I really don't have a lot of good Critical level 4 decos, so that's why I have those 2 skills in there. Maybe you want to go 2 protection, or maybe you want to go to medicine. You know, it really is up to you, whatever utility skill you want to get on there. The important thing is that you get the 2 crits. But as you can see, this particular build, you're only going to have maximum critical boost when your glider mantle is up, which means that if your glider mantle is not up, you're not going to be dealing as much damage with the charge blade itself, but you are dealing more damage with the files. So it really depends on what you would rather have. Do you want to keep more damage on the blade, or do you want to keep more damage on the files? And in my personal case, in most situations, I'd rather have more damage on the blade itself. But if you want more damage on the files, this is the alternative. Naturally, we also have the temporal mantle in there with 2 maintenance jewels. And this gives your finalized build: critical eye 7, artillery 5, health boost, weakness exploit 3, focus 3, tremor resistance 2, blast attack 2, earplugs 1 from the Zora spurs. It's not as clean of a build. You get a lot of extra skills in there. You got level 1 critical boost when your mantle is off, level 3 critical boost when your mantle is on. Again, you can change some things here if you value different skills. These are just the skills that I value more. Like, if you don't care that much about weakness exploit, trade that in for your crit. If you don't care about that much about focus, trade that in. But I would never, ever replace the focus. I love 3 focus on charge blade. Like, that's just me. It's completely up to you. You also have capacity boost, your level 1 guard, your flinch free, your guard up. Your flinch free here comes from the Zora headgear alpha, so it's not like you have the socket for it. And you also get 2 tool specialists when you got temporal mantle. But the cool thing here is that you get Teostra's technique together with artillery secret, and that's kind of like the point of this build. I know that probably a lot of people would do different variations on this build. I tried doing this build using Zora's essence in the blade as opposed to having Teostra's essence in the blade, and I didn't like it as much. It seemed like it was harder to budget. Teostra's essence became a little bit more clean because most of the Kaiser pieces are not that great in terms of slots, so I just like the budget on Zora's pieces more than Kaiser's pieces. So, you know, that's why I did it like this. If you think you can do a better version of it, feel free to suggest it in the comments down below. But this is the one that I came up with for myself. This is the hybrid build. And just in case you want to take it to the Guiding Lands, here is the Guiding Lands variation that I made for myself. You are going to be sacrificing 1 critical boost, and you're only going to get critical boost when you have the Glider Mantle, which is another reason why I don't really like taking this particular build to the Guiding Lands as much. But, you know, it is viable in there if you want to play this build in the Guiding Lands, so, you know, it's completely up to you. Okay, now for this next build, I'm gonna be completely honest. This is a build that I've made kind of like in a fit of rage. Like, I was in a state of blind rage when I started working on this build because I had just gotten carded by Rajang a bunch of times, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm just gonna make like one of the tankiest builds you can possibly have with a charge blade because you're really pissing me off. I actually haven't tested this build on Rajang since I made it, but I made the build and I was like, wow, this actually seems like it'll be a pretty fun build. Like, I've used it here and there, but I've been trying to stay away from earplugs on charge blade because I like guard pointing roars. But this was basically me coming up with a build that's like, this is a no-nonsense build. Like, this, you can't stop me. You can't do anything. Like, I'm just going to go for all of the defensive stuff that I can put on a charge blade and make a really tanky set. Now, this weapon is different. This one's going to come in with the Zora Magdaros Essence, and is going to come with 3 attack 5s, which kind of goes against what I said about this being a very defensive build. It's like, when I awaken a charge blade, I want to make sure that I can use it in multiple sets and not just one. So if you really want to go defensive, you can replace those attack ups with defense or whatever other defensive skill you want to get. But I also want to be able to dish out a significant amount of damage, so I went for a lot of attack on there. And this particular weapon might end up being used in future sets, so I don't want to like just tie it down to this one set. This is my Zora Essence Charge Blade. It's also got a sharpness increase 6, which gives you a decent chunk of white, because a lot of the times that I use Zora Magdaros, most likely I'm not going to be going for Teostra. So I want to make sure that I get a decent chunk of white in there so I don't have to worry as much about sharpness on the weapon itself. In terms of augmentation, it's pretty much the same thing. You got your health regen, your affinity, and your element status effect up. But again, you can change this if you really want to make this set even more defensive. but I really don't think you need to. Let's get to the build itself. You got your Shafi Shadow Shield in there, and that's got the Artillery Jewel +4. Then you got your Zora Headgear Alpha with Magazine Jewel and Shield Jewel. Again, Magazine and Shield pretty much staple on all of my Charge Blade builds at this point. You got the Golden Loon Mail Beta because we're going to be going for that Divine Blessing Secret. Hey, man, I said I don't want anybody messing with me on this build. So you got your Iron Wall +4 and another Iron Wall and another Artillery, which maxes out your Artillery and gives you 3 Iron Wall at this point, which is really good. You got Acidic Glavenus Braces because I also don't want to have to deal with getting stunned. You got a bunch of Charger decorations in there, as well as another Steadfast, maxing out your stun resistance. You got the Golden Loon Coil Beta with another Charger and a Destroyer. You got Zora Spurs Beta with 2 more Destroyers in there. And the Destroyers are there because whenever you break a part, you get an opening, and breaking parts gives you more openings, and that's kind of like the point here. You're super defensive, and you're trying to generate as many openings as possible. It also makes this a pretty decent build to take into Safi'Jiiva, because if you want to break stuff, you know, you go with this. This is not the build that I personally take into Safi'Jiiva. I go way more offensive with my build, but this is just a super tanky build. And actually, you wrap everything up with your Earplugs Charm 4. Then on the Glider Mantle, we go for an additional Iron Wall decoration because we will max out guard in this build like a goddamn maniac. And you have a KO Medicine Jewel in there. That's kind of like optional. I didn't really know what else I would want to put on there. So you get a little bit of extra KO whenever you get your Glider Mantle, which gives you even more openings coupled together with the Destroyer. You get an additional stun on your impact file, so there is a chance that you'll knock out stuff and, you know, whatever. You got Temporal Mantle, maintenance, all of that. So, looking at the final build, you got your Earplugs level 5, Artillery level 5, Divine Blessing level 5, Stun Resistance level 3, Health Boost level 3, Focus level 3, Park Breaker level 3, Guard level 3, and 5. You got your Glider Mantle, Capacity Boost, Flinch Free, Guard Up, and level 2 Tool Specialist on your Temporal Mantle whenever that is up. 1 Recovery Up, 1 Slugger, and Zora Magdros' Essence, as well as Gold Rathian Essence, giving you Artillery Secret and Divine Blessing Secret. That's a whole lot of defensive skills. The one defensive skill that I would have liked to potentially include in here was Tremor Resist, which you can do if you replace the Destroyer decorations in there for footing decorations instead. But I value Part Breaker a little bit more. I've always liked Part Breaker as a skill, even when people were like telling me, "No, Rurikon, I don't like Part Breaker, Part Breaker." I always liked Part Breaker. I like breaking parts. I like seeing those flinches come up. I like hearing the sound whenever something breaks. So I've always enjoyed the Part Breaker skill. But again, if you want to make it even tankier, you can put Tremor Resist in there as well, and you'll never be tremored either. So that's another option, another variation that you can do on this build. Let me know what you think about this one. This one, like I said, I made this build in a fit of rage. Like, I was really upset. I was like, God damn it, this goddamn Rajang, Tempered Rajang in the Guiding Lands just keeps beating me up. Now, for the Guiding Lands variant on this build, we basically get rid of 2 of the Destroyer Jewels, and we put Geology and Fortitude, which is kind of like the 2 skills that you need if you're going into the Guiding Lands. So that's what I did. If you want to take this into the Guiding Lands, these are the skills that I personally would take. And finally, the Elemental Charge Blade build. Now, this is not the most meta of builds. It's not even that hard of a build to make. It's actually quite similar to the Elemental Gunlance build that I made because I really like the Safi set. It's a set that it makes it very easy for you to make builds around it because it just comes with 40% affinity. I personally really like having that set on my weapons, and I wanted to make a variant for the Elemental Charge Blade, and this is kind of what I come up with. Now, I'm going to show you guys the dragon version of the Charge Blade, but basically, as you guys can imagine, if you're doing Elemental Charge Blade, you're going to have to go ahead and build 5 different Charge Blades, 1 for each element, and you're going to have to enchant them all the same way, augment them the same way, and then build the same way, changing only the relevant element stuff to the different element. Now, the weapon that I'm using here is Drakshil because that's the one that comes with dragon damage. The awakened abilities that we have is a bunch of element up. 4 element ups, one of those is 6, and then a sharpness increase 5. This build will require a bit of upkeep with sharpness because, you know, you do have to sharpen your weapon quite a bit because you're going to be running out of sharpness. But, you know, I think it pays off depending on how weak the monster is to elemental damage because, you know, different monsters, different hit zone values, all of that stuff. I'm not going to try to explain all of that. But basically, you'll have to align yourself against the element of the monster, and also you have to hit the correct parts of it. I just like the AoE of it, you know, and I like the concept of the elemental damage build. So this is what I went with in terms of augmentations. You got your affinity, your health regen, and element status effect up. Now, this build does not reach 100% crit, but it does reach 95% crit, which is close enough. It's close enough for me. It's not like you're running Master's Touch anyway, so it's, you know, it's not going to make that much of a difference, 95 to 100%, it's whatever. So let's take a look at the build itself. On the Safi'Jiiva shield, you're going to be putting a Dragon Jewel +4. You're going to be changing this for the relevant elements, or if you're making like a Thunder version, you want a Bolt Jewel. If you're making a Water version, you want a Water Jewel. You guys know how to do an elemental build at this point, hopefully. Then we got full Safi set. Pretty much, there's not really a whole lot to discuss here. It's a full Safi set because I want to get the 5-piece bonus of Safi. Something here is that I would change, which unfortunately I don't have at this point, is you have Phoenix Protection. I'd actually go for Phoenix Medicine on all of the Phoenix decos. You got 2 Phoenix decos on the Glider Mantle, and you have a Phoenix deco on the chest. These I would put Phoenix Medicine if I had on all of them. Because for those of you that haven't played with full Safi set, whenever you attack, you're going to lose health. Now, you do have health regen on your weapon, or at least most of you will. I do. So it does mitigate some of that, but if you add the medicine on top of it, you definitely heal yourself even more, which is good. And if you SAD, there's a high chance that you will trigger the thing on the other set bonus thing where it kind of heals you with the set bonus. So you get healing from your weapon, healing from the medicine, and healing from the set bonus itself. So there's a lot of healing going on here. Again, we have a brace decoration. You can remove this if you're playing solo, but like I said, I play with friends most of the time. You have full charger, you have magazine, you have a shield. Like I said, I always do shield magazine. My charge blade sets, you have full expert. I believe we only have, no, we do have 3 vitality. I kind of forgot how much vitality I actually had on this set. We do have 3 vitality. You have a Master's Charm wrapping the set up. Again, if I had another +4 expert deco, I probably would go with the elemental charm of your choosing, and then just replace the dragon, the tier 4 dragon decos for expert decos, and you could probably do something different. But yeah, this is what we have to work with. This is what I ended up making. Again, we got the temporal mantle in there with 2 maintenance. Let's take a look at the final build. You have critical eye level 7, dragon attack level 6, health boost level 3, critical boost level 3. The critical boost is not something that I actually go for. It just kind of comes with the set itself. I don't really value critical boost all that much in this build because most of the damage is going to be coming from elemental damage. Now, the cool thing about this set is that you can both go for Savage Axe Slash and SADs, and you're not really getting penalized like I kind of felt that you were previously. Like, because previously, if you went 4-piece Namiel, you would have better SADs, but worse Savage Axe. Whereas if you went 4-piece Silver Los, you would have better Savage Axe and worse SADs. With this set, you're pretty much good all around, and that's one of the things that I really like, and I also just kind of like the set to begin with. But anyways, then we have 3 focus, evade window 4. I mean, you got 3, and then you got 1 more from the Glider Mantle, but in your case, you probably won't have that 4th one, because if you happen to have the Phoenix Medicine, then you're going to have 3 recovery up instead, which is going to be better. You have level 2 Blight Resistance, which is actually really good to trigger your Phoenix, which if you guys don't know about Coalescence, you really need to look into Coalescence. It's really, really good. It can stack up your elemental damage really, really high, and it just makes for really, really satisfying playstyle. You have 1 Divine Blessing on my build, which probably won't be there on yours because, like I said, you're going to have the medicine decos, hopefully. You got Guard Up. You got your Coalescence, level 1 without Mantle, level 3 with Mantle. So try to keep that Mantle up as much as possible. Tool Specialist 2 when you got the Temporal Mantle up. And Safi'Jiiva's Seal with True Dragon Vein Awakening, which, if I remember correctly, it's like 150 elemental damage, as well as 40% affinity. And yeah, it's pretty friggin' sweet. But yeah, this is the elemental charge blade build, and this is pretty much it for this video. Welcome to 2020. Hopefully you guys have a fantastic year. I definitely plan on having a lot of fun at least, so hopefully you guys will be along for the ride as well. I'm sorry that I took a bit of a break at the end of the year, but I just kind of needed a little bit of time to rally my thoughts because it's been completely insane. Not that I actually got any rest, because my kids kept me awake and busy as they tried to murder each other. But that's a story for another day. Make sure to follow me on Twitch because I'm going to be streaming a whole lot on there as well. I've been doing a lot of Safi runs for those of you that still need to get Safi. And remember, Safi is going away on the 5th of January for a little bit. So if you want to get these builds done, you better get grinding that Safi. Expect a video on the gun lances soon because I know that you guys want to know my thoughts on gun lances with the Safi stuff and all that. So expect a video on that soon. But yeah. Other than that, thank you all very much for watching. As usual, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe if you like my content, comments, feedback in the comment section down below. And see you guys on the next one. Stay strong, and may your shields never break.